Okay, so today's topic is vitality and coherence for movement longevity. We'll be talking about ways how to enjoy movement without restrictions at any age with the help of coMra therapy. And as I already shared, the webinar today will be run by myself, Mikhail Tsvetanov, and by Dr. Rajan Surzakov in cooperation with Radiant Life Technologies. And Rajan is Director of Research and Development at Radiant Life Technologies. He's been on a search for a life-supportive vision for science, health, and technology. And Arjan will be giving the scientific backup of my personal experiences that I'm about to share with you. I am a lifelong athlete and practitioner of various sports. My name is Mikhail Tsvetanov. I've been practicing a lot of different movement disciplines throughout my life. And yeah, I'm saying that I'm on a journey to athletic longevity. I'm on a journey to stay active till actually the end of my life, hopefully. And the question we'll be looking at today is, can one enjoy competitive sports and still sustain enough life force in the body to lead an active lifestyle throughout the entire life? And talking about competitive sports, it must not be necessarily a professional sports, but the question is, can one really stay very active and still sustain enough life force throughout their entire life in order to be able to learn new things, to explore new movement ability, new movement practices, and so on. Well, the question here that I've been looking at is if professional sports at all is actually about health and longevity, because professional sports, we all know, and those that actually have not been in professional sports as well, that professional sports is about everything else but not really about longevity, because there is a lot of overuse and abuse of the organism. There is a lot of chronic fatigue and burnout, a lot of injuries and traumas which are resulting in mental stress and trauma. And what is interesting is that the average career length for a professional athlete is between 5 to 10 years. So that's really nothing about longevity. But the question is why this is so, and can this state of affairs be somehow changed and overcome? And the answer to that is, well, there might be a way if we learn how to harmonize vital systems of our body and strengthen its regeneration abilities. Because everything in life is about regeneration, about keeping the harmony, keeping the balance. And obviously practice shows that professional sports is not really focused on that today. Now, looking back into my life, I would say that I've been lucky that I've never been a professional athlete. I've done a lot of different sports throughout my life. I started with sports acrobatics early in my age, till about 20 years of age. Then I fell in love with bodybuilding, and I did bodybuilding for about 6 or 7 years. And I did that sport on a competitive level, but not on a professional competitive level. And I did it really shortly, for just 2 years probably I competed. I've done some martial arts, I've done some amateur football, I've done gymnastics, I've done some go-karting as well. And why I'm saying that I'm lucky that I've never been a professional athlete is because at 49 years of age, I'm getting 50 this August, I still feel in a great shape, and I continue to enjoy athletic exercises and explore new movement forms. So I really see as a key to athletic longevity the necessity for athletic diversity. So part of the professional sports abuse of the body as well is the abuse of movement patterns, and actually getting locked into particular movement patterns which do not bring diversity, but they exhaust the body, exhaust these given muscle parts which are used for that given movement patterns. And that's part of the problem, because as well, this is not a way how to keep harmony in the body. So for me, definitely athletic longevity is a key factor to athletic diversity is a key factor to athletic longevity. I founded a podcast, an athletic podcast, 3 years ago, because I really felt that I need to go back to sports in an active way. Um, I mean, to reconnect to my passion for sports and to find a way how to work with professional athletes. So I came up with this idea that I'm going to run a podcast, and I call it Athletic Longevity. And I've been meeting with professional and amateur athletes, and I've been interviewing them on the topic of athletic longevity and trying to dig in into their own history and their own ability and experience with building athletic longevity for themselves. And I was shocked to learn that a lot of those people, and especially the professional athletes, actually have been experiencing a breakdown already in young age. Around 20 years of age, it seems a lot of them, they would experience immunity breakdown, they would experience chronic fatigue, chronic back pain or muscle pain, bone pains. There will be severe torn muscles or tendons, inflammations, and so on. And I really sat down and after each experience I had with these people in the studio, and I really was pondering on why this is actually happening. What is the very reason? And why I'm also looking and searching for athletic longevity, and what does athletic longevity mean for me? And what I realized is that actually, as I already shared, professional sports is not, and performance is not really about movement or athletic longevity, but that athletic or movement longevity is about the ability to enjoy life and free movement at any age. Because that's what I've been happy about now at almost 50 years of age, that I have a very high quality of life in terms of well-being. I'm able to move freely without restrictions and pain, and I'm able to learn new things and to continue expanding my movement horizons. So this has been for me athletic longevity. And I pondered on how this has happened. And what I started realizing is that actually there are certain fundamental principles of life and nature, and there has been a certain natural rhythm with which nature grows, evolves, regenerates, and heals, and that there are seasons in everything in life and nature. And somehow I've been happy to run throughout my life with these principles of life, and most of my life I was not really aware of them, and I've been starting to be aware of them just now later in my life. And in the same way how nature functions, our body functions under similar rhythm of growth, evolution, regeneration, and healing. And it seems like this is the key to how even professional athletes can overcome these crises which are coming very early in their life. Because obviously there is a nature rhythm of health, which copies the nature rhythm of nature. And it is about keeping a balance between two opposite and complementary forces, which are prevalent in everything in the nature. It could be day and night, light and darkness, hot and cold, and so on and so on. And that's what actually has been depicted by the well-known yin yang symbol. And when this balance, which is actually a dynamic balance between these two opposites, is kept, then we can be sure that there will be as well health, there will be coherence in our body, and everything will be working just fine. But that's the question now, how to keep that coherence, how to keep that rhythm, because obviously looking into the two sides of life and to the regenerative process of life, because all life is a cycle of regeneration, which consists of two parts. One part is stress and the other part is recovery. There is nothing in life that happens without this stress phase, because the stress phase is the stimul, the impulse to growth, to evolution. So we cannot live without it. But on the other side as well, without the recovery phase, when we rebuild what the stress has actually started to destroy, we can never reach the final recovery and get back to the health, the state of health. And I've been lately thinking a lot about stress, and I've been trying to look into stress from a positive point of view. Because as I shared, I see that stress is very necessary in life. There has been a lot of talks around getting rid of stress and how we can live a more stress-free life and so on. But actually, stress in its core is not a bad thing. We need stress in order to grow. But the question is how to learn as well to work with stress and to successfully as well give space to this regeneration phase that needs to follow stress. Because if we remain in a stress phase for too long, that's where the natural rhythm of the human body and nature actually starts to break up. And that's when the stress starts to be negative and unnecessary, because it leads to overuse, to chronic exhaustion, and after that there is this phase of decay and degeneration of the entire body, of cells in the body. And as I said, that's a necessary phase. It's called the catabolic phase. That's why bodybuilders go to the gym in order to reach that catabolic phase and actually to start destroying the cells in their body, to get them into a state of disintegration, let's say, or start of disintegration, in order to promote the growth in the body and to have these big muscles that they have. But obviously they cannot remain in that phase forever, and that's why they need to have as well these breaks in between. So the key to keep this balance in the body is to focus on learning how to work with the body. And I feel that as well, my experience with a lot of different movement practices in my life have as well taught me to listen very carefully to my body. It's been a very natural process, which I only now can look back into my life and realize how actually it has been working, but I've never really been aware of that. So obviously, when there is the increased intensity of training, and after that it is balanced by an equal increase of efficient recovery and everything in the body has been rebuilt and replenished, that's where the nature rhythm has been kept, has been sustained. And this is also something that professional athletes can be looking at, or any mover or any athlete in whatever age group can be looking into, and looking for ways how to work in a more intelligent way with their body in order to sustain and or to reach first of all and then sustain that nature rhythm of regeneration. Because at the end of the day, if we are able to stay in that state of balance and coherence, that's when the body enjoys whatever novelty comes to it, whatever new challenges, movement challenges come to us, whatever new movement forms we try to learn. That's when the body enjoys it. That's when we feel enough vitality and strength in order to proceed with our practices or to start the new practices. And it would be a fantastic work if there was a simple way how to support ourselves back to their integrity. But I already gave hints that it might not be that easy. But I believe that we can present you today to a way which can very massively help you in achieving back that integrity in your body, starting on a cellular level. And I will give the word now to Arjan, which will continue with the following slides.
Thank you very much, Mikhail.
Thank you, Arjan. I will stop sharing. Yeah.
Good evening. Mikhail, this topic of athletic longevity is not new to me. And actually, as I was recalling my journey with coMra therapy, it began with my knees because of about 20 something years in mountaineering and rock climbing. And after a lot of abuse, I must say, the knees were in really bad shape. Basically, after spending youth and sort of my 20s, my early 30s in the sports, you basically come to the idea that you always have pain in your knees. That's it. That's the life. It's just summer, winter. It's always pain in the knees. And I just saw myself in a picture. You see this mountain behind me, the white one around my finger? It's called Снежная or Snowy. It's my first mountain I climbed when I was 14 years old. It's about 4,000 meters. Here it's in Altai Mountains. So when I got my hands on my first Delta, the first thing I did was my knees because they were painful all the time. So I spent about 3 months, I would say, good 3 months of daily treatments. And geez, I was so happy that when I walk just on the street, I don't feel pain. And actually, gradually over the time, I completely forgot about it. And I had to actually sit and recall that, well, actually, that's the first thing I did. I was just, trying to recover from something I did in my youth, doing crazy things in mountains. Okay, so when we talk about sports and really pushing your body hard, what do we want? We want speed, we want strength, and we want endurance. Aerobic endurance, speed endurance. And obviously, depending on the sport, you will be specializing, for example. Or Mikhail, like what you were saying, diversify. But more frequently, sportsmen tend to sort of specialize in one type, in one or another function. And there are plenty of different ways you can really train very hard to push your body to provide this function. Now, the question is, the actual difficulty is not to push hard in training, is how we can push hard in recovery. And that's what I really like, Mikhail, what you said is that, if you are an athlete and you're aiming at long-term health, staying active through your entire lifetime, it means that if you push as hard, you need to, as hard, recover. And when it comes to a single cell or tissue, any cell would be facing the same challenge. It needs to rebuild, because remember, when we talk about recovery from the training session, this is when the body gets stronger, not when you train. Because as you said, Mikhail, when you train, you actually destroy the tissue, you exhaust the resources stored in your body. But your body gets stronger faster when you are recovering, not when you train. So, and here we come across three fundamental flows that need to match together in the body. Every cell has to do that. It needs to weave flow of energy around flow of matter, which is to synthesize proteins, to resynthesize certain cellular structures, and then communication, which is a proper way to regulate the balance between within the autonomic nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic branch, and loop this into a coherent regenerative cycle. So, and this is the idea with coMra therapy, is that we take all three flows and we try to do something with them. And the question is, what can we do? And look, it's a bit of a technical subject when it comes to coherence. And I really urge you to watch our other webinars with the more details, how it's exactly happening. So I'll talk very briefly. The idea is how we can support to do a faster regeneration. And the idea is simple, is coherence. If I'll use example from sports, there's the people sitting on a boat. These women are competing. And the question is, which boat is faster? Let's say there are how many people here? Look, the fastest boat is the one where each member of the team is rowing together as one, fully coherent. And less coherent, less harmony is between the members, then the boat will be slower. And that's the beautiful idea within the harmony or coherence. Meaning the same cell, the same muscle, the same tissue can expend same amount of energy. But if it's internally disorganized, if it's internally incoherent, it will not provide the maximum benefit for you. It will not regenerate just as fast. So with certain radiances, we can create a condition in a given cell when we can artificially, for a certain time, we can create a condition of coherence. And we use 4 different radiances in coMra devices, infrared laser and magnetic field. They provide coherence for the much faster, much more efficient, flow of energy. The mitochondria, which in a cell is producing the ATP molecule. And if you will just Google and see how many articles there are. I didn't put any articles and references here because there are hundreds of them. And it's a very active field where they're trying to learn what's the best way to apply, let's say, the field called the biophotomodulation or low-level laser therapy in sports, because it's a very well-known effect when we can support a cell to produce much more energetic output by simply making it much more coherent. But this is just one part of the story. The other second one is the flow of matter. Remember, we need to resynthesize, we need to rebuild, mechanically rebuild the tissue which has been destroyed or exhausted. That's why we have ultrasound. So together with the magnetic field, laser, we have ultrasound. And that's how we speed up, we enhance the flow of nutrients into the cell, the synthesis processes in the cell, and outflow of waste material. That's the function of ultrasound. And then we have color LEDs that provide a rhythmic message so that the cell can get that message and start the process of rebuilding. And this is how we can provide the support to any type of cell, to any muscle, and actually any organ in the body. So this is really, really brief what coMra therapy does to our devices. But the bottom line, the takeaway message is that with coMra therapy, and this is our experience for years has been, is that basically what we're doing is we're increasing efficiency of regeneration in any depleted cell by up to 2-3 times. How? By increasing internal coherence of how a cell internally functions. It's a beautiful idea. We're not forcing it, we're not making it doing something unnatural. It's just we introducing harmony into the cell. The result, much faster recovery. So here you see a cross section of coMra device, coMra Delta. You put it on a skin directly over your organ, be it joints, be it muscle, be it your heart. The radiances penetrate deep into the body, and then they stimulate much more efficient recovery. So it works really simple in terms of the usage. And here on the left, you see a coMra Delta device. It has 4 radiances, as I mentioned. And on the right, it's a coMra Palm device. It has the same radiances minus ultrasound. It's a smaller portable device. Again, I'm not going to go into the details, the difference between these 2 devices. We have plenty of webinars on them, but basically, so you know, these are 2 different versions that coMra therapy is implemented. Now, if you are in sports, if you are a professional dancer, if your work is related with a lot of physical activity, we compiled a user guide specifically for sports. You can go to our website, you will see that user guide. And here I'm showing just an example as an idea. For example, how can you prepare your body for a training session, for a competition, or let's say for heavy duty work? You address not so much the muscles that will be working. Yes, you can, precondition your muscles, but the key organs will be the vital systems that are working overtime to provide muscles with oxygen, with nutrients, to remove waste. So these are the points over your blood, lymphatic system, your heart, the liver, the spleen, the kidneys. These are your key vital organs. And the beauty of coMra therapy is that you can put the device directly on these vital organs, and they will make the work they're supposed to be doing when you're doing heavy physical work. And this is an example protocol. Number 2, this is the recovery after you've been competing or training session. And depending on which muscle group will be working, like here on this picture you're showing points on the legs, you can do the same on the upper body, on the arms. But again, the idea is very simple. You put the device in a spot where it needs help the most. And the idea is to harmonize function of your entire body, of your key vital organs. And this is how we can support completely non-invasively, absolutely naturally, how your body functions, how it rebuilds itself by just providing that non-invasive stimuli with coMra devices. And this is another protocol example where, for example, you'll be looking at how you can condition your muscles specifically. So these are examples how to position device. Let's say you have a coMra palm and you'll be placing this on these points, and it's really a short protocol. So thank you, Mikhail. I just wanted to give a very brief intro how coMra works, and give you an example of the protocol. But let's hear from you about some real life examples.
Great. Thank you very much, Arjan. Thank you very much. When you were sharing about the coherence, a thought came up for me. It's something that I've been sharing with athletes that I've been working with. It's a very layman way how to explain the process or how coMra works. For me, it has always been the vision of when there is a little baby crying because it's being disturbed, and when it hears the voice of its mother singing to the baby, that's always been the vision that I see when I'm putting coMra on my body. I feel the signal that comes out of the device. It brings the same sensations that a baby must feel when it hears the voice or the singing of their mother. So it is, for me, that's exactly what I see and how I imagine it in a very layman terms. Okay, so I will share with you cases of cooperating and working with athletes. I have been working with coMra therapy since 2010, when coMra was introduced on the market. I've been working with coMra mainly on the market in the Czech Republic, and I have worked with a lot of different athletes, with a lot of different professional physiotherapists as well, and therapists working with sports teams. And I have a couple of cases that I would share with you. But in general, actually, what I wanted to mention as well, I mentioned that I feel that I've been able to stay active in my age and in a very good shape because of the diversity of movement that I've been doing. But the very reason why I founded the Athletic Longevity podcast was because I've been seeing that coMra has really massively been helping me to save or to sustain this vitality in my body and stay active. And the podcast is a way as well how to share about coMra therapy. So I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the help of coMra therapy and the impact of coMra therapy throughout the years on my health and on my well-being in order to stay active. Let me just see where my slides are, okay, and share the cases and a little bit more experience with coMra. All right. So first of all, what I learned throughout the years working with athletes and coMra therapy is that there are plenty of different benefits of coMra for athletes. First of all, what I've been perceiving is the faster recovery from injuries, and as well faster recovery from acute or chronic pain. which accompany the injuries. And actually, I've come to appreciate not that much the speed of recovery, but the quality of recovery, because there has been a lot of experience that athletes would, especially professional competing athletes, they would tend to come back to the pitch as soon as possible after they start to feel better after an injury. And this would then actually reflect into a very quick second injury, because the first injury hasn't been yet recovered. And that's what put them into a cycle of injury recovery, and eventually this leads to end of their career. So for me, using coMra for recovery from injury has always been about the quality of recovery, which guarantees you that when you get back to the pitch, your injury will be healed. Then a lot of chronic problems of the locomotion system I've seen being healed with coMra therapy, and a lot of physiotherapists and doctors of sports teams that I work with would really appreciate the ability of coMra that it gives to them to overcome chronic pains, chronic inflammations that they have not been able to heal with anything else. What is good as well, or good, I would say it's fantastic for coMra therapy, is that when there is an injury, let's say of a knee, it is not only that the issue or the tissue needs to recover, because on a face value, when the tissue is recovered, there is still undergoing injury of a very subtle tissue elements like the nerves, for example. And for nerves to recover takes much longer than the actual muscle tissue. So if, for example, a torn muscle has fully recovered, there is still this prevailing nerve damage, which takes even longer. And that's when athletes come back to the pitch and they don't have these sensations of pain and injury anymore in their body, and they go to compete. That's why the injury can repeat again, because the nerve cells or the nerve paths has not been yet recovered, and this also hinders cognitive functions. And that's when coMra comes very handy, because it helps extremely well with healing nerve paths and restoring cognitive functions. Another thing that comes to my mind is actually the harmonization of vital systems of the body. And that's the biggest, I would say, difference of coMra therapy to other similar modalities, because laser, light, ultrasound, magnets, that's something that has been used in physiotherapy for many, many years. All athletes, professional and amateur athletes, they have been treated by one or the other or by all of these modalities. But I bet that none of these modalities have actually been used for systemic treatment. They would be usually be used for local treatment of pain, of injuries, of a knee, of a muscle, but they've never been used for treating systems of the body, organs of the body, for blood irradiation, for example, one of the very basic and most important treatments of coMra therapy. And this is something that I always recommend to all athletes. Whenever there is a local injury they treat, for example, a torn muscle, I would always recommend them to combine the treatment of the local injury with a systematic treatment, for example, blood treatment or some of the universal vitality treatments, and so on. And maybe before I proceed, I would mention as well the harmonized hormone levels effect, which helps extremely well with overcoming pre-activity, pre-competition stress and promoting mental resilience. That's a great thing, and as well, there is no other modality that I can think of that can help with this specifically. So these are some of the main benefits that I've been perceiving in working with athletes. Now, the few cases that I would like to share with you One of our first cases that we achieved here was working with Denisa Baresova, who is the sports aerobic champion of the Czech Republic. She's not competing anymore. The case is a few years old. But when she still competed, she was a 5 times national, 3 times European, and 1 time world title champion in sports aerobics. And she also became, for some time, the face of coMra therapy because of the results actually she achieved with coMra. So coMra, in her case, at the beginning, was included into the training program that she underwent for 3 months. And this was done prior the World Championship in order to strengthen her organism in the period of the highest training pressure because the championship, before the championship. Then also to help her recover a systemic damage of mononucleosis, which she underwent about a year ago before the World Championship. And then to heal an aching knee, which was disturbing her training, and to provide stress relief and mental balancing, because her trainer at that time complained that Denisa has difficulties to focus, to undergo difficult training sessions, and the combination of treatment protocols, which were systemic and local for the knee especially, helped really increase training appetite, help with achieving less tiredness after routines, faster recovery between routines. Most importantly, no knee aching, and a strengthened mental balance and resilience. So very successful. She didn't win the World Championship for a second time. This would have been a very nice end of the story, let's say, but she competed very well, performed very well, and I would say in full power. So this was the first case. Another case, we worked with Stepan Janacek, Olympic athlete in the pole vault discipline. We met with Stepan when he actually suffered of hip joint inflammation, which was caused by Staphylococcus aureus blood infection. So he experienced a severe pain in the hip joint area. He was hospitalized. He was put under antibiotics for 1 week. And after that, when he was released, he got coMra from us, the coMra Delta device, and he started treating himself. So coMra was applied for 3 weeks on a daily basis, and there was a combination of Uni-6, which is the treatment for vitality, and Traumatology 9 protocol, which is the local protocol on the hip. And actually, already after the first 10 days, the hip joint range was restored to 90%, and the hip pain subsided already in the first couple of days. Plus, on subjective level, Stepan was reporting a huge restored vitality and energy of his body. So this testimony he shared with us says that his personal experience with the Delta laser has been the most positive and most intensive of all resources that he had the opportunity to use for rehabilitation and regeneration during his professional career, which was a very positive feedback. And talking about athletes, we continue with Michal Vitu. And Michal is a professional runner. He's the head of running trainers or coaches in the PIM running club in Prague. He's a long distance runner. He pulled his gluteal muscle because he felt, and the pain reached down to the top of the hamstring. And he needed a better and faster recovery between running sessions as well. So he rented the coMra device for about 1 month, and he applied Uni-6 Vitality and Traumatology protocol directly on the pulled muscle. What he reported was significant subsidity of the pain in about 4 days. He also reported that he was able, very shortly after he started using coMra, to renew his training sessions, and with combining that with additional taping as well to support the muscle. And he also experienced a similar regeneration of his calf muscle in a very shortened time. And in general, he as well reported a significantly shortened recovery time within the sessions on a subjective level. Now, when it comes to a little bit more, let's say, scientifically backed up experiences, we had that nice cooperation, and we still actually have that cooperation with the Army Sports Club Dukla in Prague, because they have been having the coMra device for many years. And already at the beginning of our cooperation, they reported many cases of fast recovery. And this was when we started finding out how helpful coMra is for chronic conditions, which the physiotherapists and doctors of Dukla were not able to heal with most of the other devices that they had. So you can see here that actually the range of improvement varied from really very little, like 10-14%, due to just a very short time of treatment with coMra, up to 65 to 90% of improvement of different conditions. But the overall conclusion of Peter Kral, which was the head of sports physiotherapy therapy in Dukla, was that he really saw that for the duration of 14 days, he was able to heal chronic conditions of various players in the football team that he's been taking care of, which were actually prevalent and were not able to get healed with any other modality that he's been using. So in general, a very positive feedback from the Dukla Sports Club. And the last case that I wanted to share with you is about the knee injury. And that's just to give you an idea that coMra is not only good for treating, let's say, like milder conditions, but it's also very good for helping recover from severe conditions and injuries like, for example, torn ACL and MCL. And this was the case of one particular athlete who is active in mountain biking and outdoor activities, and he got a torn ACL and MCL in his right knee. First, he used coMra to treat a persistent swelling in the knee area pre-order plastic surgery, and he reported a swelling completely resolved within the first couple of days that he started applying it. He actually continued using coMra for another week or so, just to make sure that the recovery is full. But he reported very quick resolution of the swelling. And after that, he underwent a surgery, and this was when the effects were really stunning, because first of all, right after the surgery, he was able again to completely resolve the swelling in a very fast way. But what was great that already after a month after the operation, he was able to complete a 2-day mountain trail crossing, as he reported, without major complications. So he felt his knee strong enough actually to walk, of course, with some precautions, not overloading the knee, but he was able to sustain this crossing. And also he reported 2 months after the operation that he achieved a record performance in freediving, although there is actually really necessary to have your legs in a very strong condition, and he was still very careful with his knee, but he was able to break a record. And just a picture from his recovery. You can see here the photo record of the course of treatment. Just within 14 days of treating with coMra therapy, he was able to completely restore the wound on his knee. Okay, so there are many more cases which I can continue sharing with you, but I believe this gives you an idea. Arjan, is there anything else that you would like to share before we continue with the Q&A?
No, Michael, I'm good, thank you. Let's hear from the audience. Maybe you have questions on the sports and recovery protocols.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. Let's continue then and get to the Q&A question session. And here we are. I will stop sharing. Okay. Yeah, so the stage is open. If there is anything we can discuss, we can answer with relation to experiences and anything that pertains to the topic of athletic longevity. Feel free to jump in.
Mikhail, if I could just make a little comment.
Yes, Garrett?
It's interesting with I just made a note when you talked about the novelty, because I've had interactions with different clients, and the search for novelty is linked to the dopamine. And when the dopamine's depleted, then the search for novelty can be either not happening or kind of overwhelming. So people find, you talked about the calmness and the hormonal balance. People find that it helps them when they're tackling challenges, is in like, difficult situations and stuff. So not just sports people, but I just wanted to mention that. And when they're venturing outside their comfort zone. So yeah.
That's a very good comment. Actually, it leads me back to the slide about the stress and looking at stress from a positive angle, because obviously without the stress there is no growth. And I was sharing just today with Arjan. I saw a very interesting video the other day. It was a rabbin, old rabbin, sharing about his perception of stress and saying that he's been looking into a video about lobsters. And he's seen that lobsters actually are these very mushy bodies how do we call the thing around them?
Just the shell.
The shell, yeah, thank you. A shell which actually, so only the mushy body grows, but not the shell. So whenever actually they grow in the shell and they start feeling uncomfortable, they need to hide under a rock. They throw away the shell and grow a new one, and they then continue with life until they again start feeling uncomfortable and they need to throw away the shell and regrow a new one. And that's how they grow, through basically stress. So absolutely, when I was talking about actually calm down, it is not about calming down to a level when you get to sleep and you cannot act, but it's about help to put the stress under a controllable level, let's say, so that it do not hinders your ability to act. That's the experience that I have been having.
Yes, well said. Thank you. There was a comment in the chat. I just saw something pop up. You might want to check.
Yeah, we have a question from Adam. Thank you, Adam. Can you elaborate on how to use coMra in the recovery phase after exercises? Well, I can share from my personal experience, and then probably Arjan can add to that. Adam, what I've been doing is I would like one of the most oftenly used treatments for me would be the blood irradiation. I would be using blood irradiation on a regular basis. This will be the first of the things that I would be using after a heavy training. Because I really feel that that's the overall and systematic support that I need to give to my body. When I feel that I'm exhausted in the long term and I need something more, let's say, more powerful, one of the things that I connect to with overexhaustion is actually adrenal exhaustion as well, because tiredness in the body is directly connected with the state of your adrenal glands, which are obviously above the kidneys. So when I feel the need, I would undergo also a week of treatment of my adrenal glands. I'm not doing that too often, just because I don't feel like I need it that often. But this would definitely be part of a protocol for overall vitality boost. And then what I have been doing as well, maybe I would say 4 times a year probably. I would be applying I think it's the Vitality 7. I'm not sure now, 6 or 7 protocol, which is a protocol which goes throughout 1 week. Every day you have 2 points. I will check it out just to confirm that it's the number of it. And that's something that I've been feeling extremely well and extremely helpful as well. Another experience between football matches, because I used to play five-a-side small football, amateur football, where there are long day tournaments, and between the matches, I would be treating directly my quadriceps, the big quadriceps on the legs, the big leg muscles. I would be treating them between matches. I would just sit, as you saw the picture on the slides there. That's a picture from a football tournament. And I would treat my muscles, and I would treat as well blood and adrenaline glands. And I felt fantastic. A lot of people were laughing at me. I mean, like making jokes of me. What are you doing there with this thing? Well, you'll see on the pitch. So that's my personal experience.
But also, Mikhail, I found very helpful to add at least 1 minute, if I can squeeze in at least 1 minute, better more, on the liver. That's the master chemist. Kidneys. And when I'm really for a good recovery, I would do, as much I can reach back with my hand, with a delta, ideally, do the paravertebral points on the back. Even 2 points or mid back, or 4, 6 points, even better, somehow makes so big impact on my state of entire body when I work on those on my back. Really impact. But again, I can completely agree with you. It's unit 3, absolutely, every time.
Yeah.
And obviously, if there is a particular muscle group which is like really sore, then yeah, of course, you would add treat those as well. But also, again, you think in terms of how deep is the exhaustion. In other words, if it's really profound exhaustion and you're facing like really extra load, then let's say you would do it right after training session, and then repeat the treatment, let's say 3-4 hours later, because the body is really working overtime trying to rebuild itself after a particular strenuous exercise. So, and I noticed when I was like doing really pushing my body maybe much harder than I should be, but basically next morning I would expect to wake up and barely stand. That's what used to happen. I feel actually much better. I'm like, oh wow, I feel like I'm actually okay. I had some exercise yesterday, but it's nothing comparable to what I used to feel if I don't give some of this extra support with coMra. But that's the principle in terms of recovery. Thank you for the question, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Oh, and by the way, Alexander had a webinar also on sports. We'll put in a description link to that webinar. It's a fantastic webinar where he shares his experience, how he came to compile a user guide and so on. It's very, very good webinar if you are into sports and you're looking into how to integrate coMra into your lifestyle.
Yeah, Alexander Hevia. The webinar was really great with him. Dmitry is asking, is there any benefits of using aesthetic terminal for muscles recovery? If I may, Erjan, I will start with that. Absolutely, Dmitry. I've been using the aesthetic for first of all, treatment before a session, just to prepare the muscle for the session. So that's something that helps with put the muscle in a better state and prevent injury. So I see the aesthetic as a way how to prepare the muscle in order to prevent injury. But I've as well used the aesthetic when I was talking about the matches, the football matches, the football games. When I was treating my quadriceps between the games, I would be using also the aesthetic. as a rejuvenation, basically with the idea to refresh the muscle, That's my experience, but I've mostly been using the medical in my experience.
Good point, Mikhail, because remember there is a difference that the medical terminal, the main one would be to regenerate, which is to rebuild anew. And this is most frequently we're using when there is actual injury or there is a damage in the tissue, and we're asking the body, the cells, to rebuild, resynthesize. In sports, especially when we're using, as Mikhail, for preconditioning or recovery, it's not so much of rebuilding injured tissue, but rather to rejuvenate them. And the aesthetic, or what we currently call aesthetic terminal, is sending that particular message, which is not to regenerate or recreate anew, but rather to rejuvenate. And this is in sports what we're actually trying to achieve when it comes to the muscle. But also remember that in the aesthetic terminal, the ultrasound is stronger, which creates just a bit more vibration in the tissue. And that, again, this is a boost to enhance metabolism, overall metabolism in the tissue. And that's what we want to do. We want to prevent injury to the tissue because of the sudden onset of intense exercise, intense load. So it's a very perfect and very good strategy, Mikhail, when you prepare your muscle before the event, before the competition. And again, aesthetic would be actually ideal because in this case, we're not dealing with the actual injury. We are preparing the tissue for maximum effort. Good question. Thank you.
Correct. And Adam is adding, is it important to hydrate fully before using coMra? Maybe that's something which, Arjan, I'll leave to you.
I would hydrate whenever it's needed, whenever I feel like it. There's no particular need, like, oh, you need to drink, and otherwise coMra will not work. But I think it's a good idea to hydrate. In other words, coMra is a part of a comprehensive approach to your body. In other words, what you're learning to do is to become your health expert. What you're doing is you're learning about how your body is functioning. You're learning where it needs support. I'm talking about like which organs, which muscle groups involved in that sport and that sport and that sport. But also you are learning about the needs of your body in a bigger context in terms of nutrition, in terms of physical activity and rest, in terms of proper hydration, in terms of your overall state of your mental and your emotional sphere. So coMra ideally should lead to a much deeper understanding and of appreciation of how your body works. Because remember that the coMra is not about pushing it and pushing it and pushing it so you would get faster and longer better outcome. No, coMra is about building up quality and well-being of your body, and as a result, as sort of the side effect of that well-being and quality, yes, you will become faster, you will become more endurance, you become stronger, you will recover much faster. But this is sort of the side effect. The key what we're trying to achieve here is to shift the focus from abuse, overtrain, and just more and more and more load on the body. We're actually bringing it back to the point of balance. If you add more exercises, if you add more load on the body, you need to provide counterbalance. You need to provide as much support, or actually at least more support, so that the body will be recovering to the same degree or even more, because that's what we want. We want to rebuild, and so the body becomes stronger and faster. So we want to provide more recovery after the training session. So it's a shift. It's it's a different way of thinking how you condition your body to become more versatile, more strong, and at the end of the day, healthier, which is the balanced body.
Great, thank you, Arjan. I think there were a couple of questions that came by email before the session. So I would suggest if there are no other questions right now, to answer them as well.
Mikhail,
Yes, Maxim?
I just would like to add on this topic of hydration and what Arjan just shared. It is indeed, I noted on several occasions. It seems like since coMra is kind of speeding the whole cycle of things in the body, including water cycle, it means that water is a little bit faster cycled in your body. So it is good idea to keep your intake of water on a good level, because it will be cycled for all the functions of the body, for releasing toxins and whatever. Water cycle becomes faster, and you need to have your intake of the water on the good level.
Good point. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can we treat bones, ligaments? And the question was about, can we rejuvenate? Can we regenerate? The very simple answer is yes. And I hope that you've seen the webinar, what Mikhail was sharing about injuries, trauma, and especially when it comes to sports, it's mostly about muscles, tendons. So yes, absolutely. When it comes to injuries, recent injuries, often with coMra therapy, you would get very fast recovery. Even after significant broken bones and tendon injury, it would take sometimes twice less time to rebuild and very quality recovery. Now, but when it comes to chronic injuries, it will take longer time. It could be, months. It could be several courses of treatment. But again, it's possible to have full recovery when it comes to trauma and injury. However, when you have problems with the bones, with ligaments, and it's a part of the, let's say, autoimmune disease, if it's a degenerative condition, if it's a metabolic disorder, diabetes, then what coMra therapy can do in this case is, first of all, at the very least, you can have a symptomatic relief, meaning less pain, more range of motion. You have much better quality of life, and sometimes we see very good recovery, even though it's a partial recovery. If you continue doing several courses throughout the year, we see good long remissions. But again, here the problem would be not so much the problem, let's say, in your joints, but it would be the main disease. If you have autoimmune rheumatoid arthritis, for example, that would be the main disease. So there is a protocol where you will be treating, systemic part of your body, not just, let's say, only the joints, but entire body. So that short answer is yes. And there was another question: what about trigger finger? Absolutely. If it's a recent problem, maybe even coMra palm would be sufficient. If it's a chronic problem with the tendons in your hand, then it may take weeks, maybe several months to recover, but it is absolutely possible. Another question came, and the person was describing pain in the feet, pain in the lower back, pain throughout the body, and the question was, can coMra help me? Again, without any details about the health history, to give you exact protocols is difficult. To give you any type of prognosis, obviously, is very difficult. But what we're trying to bring across with coMra therapy, and this is really the shift in perception. coMra therapy is not just a device for you to treat, let's say, painful knees or low back pain. It's not just that. It's actually a tool to introduce to a new mindset. Because on one hand, coMra therapy can greatly support your body in rebuilding itself. That's its direct function. But indirectly, what it's enabling us to do is to becoming our own health detective. Because remember, coMra therapy is completely safe. and it's very, very easy to apply. So what you need to do when you submit it to ask questions, let's say you have pain in the back, pain in the feet, first you need to identify where your body needs support. Sometimes it's very obvious when you have pain. Pain in my knees, very simple. Put delta right on your knees. Sometimes you even don't have to have a full diagnosis or full understanding what's wrong, as long as you understand the location of the problem. You can directly apply coMra therapy to enhance recovery and regeneration. The next step, once you learned how to apply coMra therapy, and you need to take the next step, and this is what, again, coMra therapy can help you in doing this, is you learn the deeper cause of the disease. We're not talking about changes in the lifestyle, but also changes in your behavior. Sometimes behind the behavior, there is deep unresolved emotional stress, a particular pattern in our life. Behind it, there is certain beliefs that would cause that emotional stress. And behind those beliefs is a lesson about the self. So remember that we're here. Please ask for support.
Thank you, Arjan. Thank you very much. Okay, maybe I'll use the moment just to share as well an opportunity for all participants to get their own coMra device in the following days, 2 weeks, for a price which will be slightly reduced with the permission of Radiant Life Technologies. So I will share my screen, and in the meantime, if there are any other questions, just feel free to submit that. So one more time, with the permission of Radiant Life Technologies, for which I'm very grateful, and thank you to the whole team at Radiant Life Technologies. There is a promo coupon which you can use in the following 2 weeks till 15th of June for a purchase of any of the coMra devices, either coMra Delta, coMra Palm, or even coMra Wave on the eShop at www.comratherapy.com. And the promo coupon is longevity10, so you can use that coupon when you are before actually paying at the eShop, and you'll get the 10% off the price of all coMra products. Arjan, thank you very much for your cooperation. It was a pleasure to have you as a co-host. Thank you very much to the entire team at Radiant Life Technologies for preparing the session, for all the support, for being here as well. And big thanks to all the participants and our guests. It's been a pleasure to see you all and to get the opportunity to present you our experience with coMra therapy for movement longevity. So I wish you well in your movement endeavors, and should there be any questions after the webinar, please submit them to the Radiant Life Technologies team at the chat on the webpage, and I believe as well through Facebook, but that's something probably that Maxim can confirm.
Yeah, chat on the webpage would be the most convenient, probably.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, Mihail.
And see you next time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mihail.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mihail.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mihail.